Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for being patient. I'm Susan Berishai. I'm the founder of C Admissions, which is a boutique New York-based admission coaching firm. Joining us today means that you are looking to apply to an MBA program, whether you're watching this live or maybe later on, but you're perhaps looking at schools that are beyond the M7. So let me just take a moment to describe what the M7 mean. So for those who are unfamiliar with the term, M7 stands for the 7 mega elite business schools. So these are Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, Kellogg, Booth, MIT Sloan, and Columbia business schools. And they stand apart from other programs as being leaders in business research, having a robust a list of prestigious professors on their roster, high quality classes, and strong career outcomes. Now, because of this, it means that these programs are very sought after. A lot of applicants apply, and this translates in, of course, being much more competitive to gain admission to. It's much more difficult to gain admission to one of these programs than beyond the M7s, just because the schools can choose from essentially the best of the best in the applicant pool. Now, whether you are looking to expand your list of schools beyond the M7, you can always still apply to a few of those, or at least one of the M7s. Or perhaps you just, your academic background, it may not be strong enough, or your professional background may not be strong enough, and you're considering non-M7 programs, non-M7 schools, then this webinar is for you, where we'll talk about a few really great programs beyond this list that will offer a robust training to help support your career progression. Now, before we go into details and the topic, of course, of this conversation today, I would like to take a moment and introduce myself. So as I mentioned, I am the founder of C Admissions, and for the past 7 years, I have been working with young, ambitious professionals who seek admission to M7 and top 20 MBA programs. These are applicants with really great experiences who struggle to convey their strength and what makes them stand out. One of my strengths as an admission coach is paying close attention to the narrative and experiences that have shaped my clients' experiences and help them convey that in a language that the institution is interested in hearing. Now, this approach results in clients presenting a genuine application that highlights their unique experiences and making, of course, their application stand out. Now, I have a 90% placement rate, which means that 9 out of 10 of my clients gain admission to at least one of their target programs. With the introduction out of the way, let's discuss logistics. So after the presentation, there will be a Q&A session. I encourage you to write your questions along during the presentation in the chat so that I get to answer as many questions as possible in our allotted time. If you would like to have a one-on-one conversation about your profile and ways that we can help support your application, please feel free to reach out. Our contact form is also available in the chat and will be also shared in the description of this video post-live session. Now, let's dive right into our conversation, or the topic of today's conversation, which is the best programs beyond the M7. I apologize, I downloaded this presentation and I didn't realize that the formatting issues didn't translate into the new format. So when we look at the business, when we look at businesses and the way the world is going, we are obviously seeing an increasing globalization. Whether businesses are operating on a global scale or looking or local. By local, I mean, U.S. Given that I'm talking about U.S. schools. you're working for local organizations that have clients, vendors on a global scale or globally. There is definitely an increase in exposure to a global business approach. And business leaders need to be able to take on this global mindedness when they approach business problems, whether that is leading a team locally or globally, or just working with individuals on a global scale. As you consider business schools, and of course you can look at business schools from academic and ranking and salaries and all these sorts of metrics, and of course you have to look at what matters really most to you. I would encourage that you take stock of what opportunities are out there for, or what opportunities MBA programs offer that provide the robust academics and hands-on learning opportunities, but also enable you to cultivate a global mindset and a network that allows geographic mobility, whether that is immediately post-MBA or down the line as you progress in your career. Your immediate post-MBA goal may mean that you are looking to stay with in the local geography at the school that you're targeting, but your long-term plan may mean that you're looking to move to another part of the world. Taking into account that this is not a short-term investment, this is a long-term investment in your career when you're applying and gaining an MBA program, you want to really consider all the possible outcomes of your career and have plans along the way of how you're going to leverage the school and its resources and its opportunities to make the most out of that experience. With that in mind, I have selected 5 schools that I want to focus on today that meet these criteria in one way or another. The first school on the list, and you may be familiar with this one, is Berkeley Haas, or you may have been expecting this one, and that's Berkeley Haas. And what I appreciate about Haas is its robust business program that focuses on analytics and business fundamentals to develop leaders who can take innovation and innovative ideas and use them to make an impact in the community that its students are serving in. So whether that is, in the local community or in an organization or in an industry, it's creating innovative thinkers that able to bring that idea and bring it to life. The program is very interdisciplinary because the goal is to develop leaders who challenge the status quo by thinking in a different way to solve sort of traditional business problems. And they're also training students are using analysis to make data-backed decisions. But beyond that, which you're going to hear, of course, across the schools, beyond that, Haas really emphasizes that the human need and human behavior, which are really integral to making the students at Haas so humble and so down to earth, even though they are business leaders and making important business decisions that are impacting their organizations and, of course, the economies across the globe. Haas is the international experience is a part of Berkeley Haas's DNA. As such, they are member of the Global Network of Advanced Management, which is a program that allows students from multiple member schools to connect virtually through lectures and discussions, as well as work on team projects. This allows students at Haas to gain perspective from students outside of the Haas community on how to solve business problems. This network currently has 32 member schools in 30 different countries, and students really get an opportunity to choose from a variety of different sort of geographic locations as to where they want to participate and engage in that community of learning. So it's a really great opportunity for someone who perhaps doesn't have that international exposure that would want to gain it, even though they're not technically required to leave the country. But students are also interested to experience other cultures and see how business is taught and conducted internationally. And Haas provides the opportunity to do that from an academic perspective through exchange programs where students can complete, or MBA candidates can complete, up to 12 credits that count towards their major studying abroad. This allows them an opportunity to really immerse themselves in the culture that they want to be a part of and really experience what it's like to live there, what it's like to be a part of that community, and how business is conducted. Now, of course, beyond the academic side of an MBA program, the focus is also on the applied learning. So the school's wonderful, Berkeley Haas's wonderful geography makes it a great place to gain a lot of local and international experiences. So whether that's, working for companies in the Bay Area or nationally or internationally, students do have a lot of opportunities to take what they've learned in the classroom and solve real world business problems through, working with partner companies across, nationally as well as internationally. So the students at Haas are required to enroll in at least one applied innovation course where they work on a team project. Based on their interests, they can choose one applied innovation course out of the 20 options that are available. So there's a lot of different ways that you can, use these resources to gain hands-on experiences based on the things that you would be interested in doing. And those that are interested in experiencing business problems on an international scale can satisfy this applied innovation course requirements through the International Business Development Program, where students engage in consulting projects for nonprofit or for-profit organizations worldwide. Projects that Haas students have led in the past through this International Business Development Program have been in Asia, Europe, Latin America, and as well as Africa. And through student clubs, you also have an opportunity to not only engage, with the community on a local level or national level, you also have an opportunity to engage with organizations on an international level and working with global companies. There is a club at Haas called International Development and Enterprise Club, where students are able to prepare to be leaders in an international scale through research, global trends, and solutions to business problems, creating a forum for them to discuss those findings at Haas, and also sharing that knowledge with the community and preparing for international careers. So there's opportunities for you to work with potential future employers, and also, of course, also gain experience on international business projects. So there is opportunities to take, the Berkeley Haas experience, whether you want to work, locally immediately post MBA or internationally. You do have an opportunity to think ahead and start taking courses and opportunities to gain both local level experiences, but also international level experiences that will make you, of course, much more marketable in the industry post degree. Haas has a really robust alumni just overall. There are 40,000 alumni with chapters in 62 countries. And this is really impressive when you think of, these are the numbers for just a business school, where students, MBA candidates that graduated in the class of 2021, 9% of those accepted, roles in Asia, Europe, Latin America, or the Caribbean. Now, of course, these numbers are never going to be as high as, the European schools, where the entire, like 90% of the class or more is international, and they're going to work in, in companies and countries outside of the specific location of the business school. In the United States, you will see a lot less of international or people, getting a U.S. degree and then going and working internationally. But the fact that, Haas does have those opportunities just indicates that they have a global reputation that you would be able to do that, long term. The second school that I want to bring up is a part of my alma mater. That's Yale SOM. So Yale is a part of the parent research institution, Yale University, and as such, it is unapologetically rigorous. And what I really appreciate about Yale SOM is its integrated curriculum. Any class you take looks at a problem from a variety of different vantage points, affecting a variety of different stakeholders. This means that when you are working on a particular problem, you are not looking only at the way your investors are going to look at the business decisions that you made, but also how the customers are going to experience this. How is the marketing team going to be able to work with the solution or with the decisions that you would have made as a leader. And by approaching all of your work in the classroom through this integrated way, students come out of the program much more thoughtful leaders, thinking not only about the problem at hand, like this is the problem that I need to face right now, and I don't care how it's affecting other parts of the business. You are really going in, looking at it, okay, if I solve this problem, how is this problem going to affect the other parts of the business? Yale SOM also looks to produce trained leaders. It's not just good enough to be able to solve a problem and use data to make decisions. They also look at producing strong leaders. As such, through the leadership distribution requirement, Yale SOM requires all students to take at least one elective that focuses on leadership development in a particular industry, or look at a major ethical or social problems leaders face. This will allow MBA students to go out in the world being, again, much more thoughtful and knowing and having thought about some of these business problems and ethical problems that they would have to face once they are industry experts, once they are leading organizations locally or globally. And the third thing that I really appreciate about Yale SOM's curriculum, so the academic side of things, is the raw cases. The raw cases, as its namesake implies, these are case projects, case business problems that you are going to get as a student that are raw. They haven't been curated. They haven't been manicured. You are going to get the problem as you would in the real world. So when you are the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, you're not going to be given a sort of like a massaged problem to solve. It will be raw, and you will have to come up with, understanding what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what's included, what not to include to make those decisions. And you are, through Yale SOM program, you are essentially simulating that experience in the MBA program before you get to that executive leadership role. And really, this academic training or training in this way prepares you for really anything that you're going to experience once you leave the MBA program, once you leave the walls of Yale University and go out in the world and experience, different decisions that you would have to make as a leader. And then, of course, the applied learning is an important piece of any MBA experience. And given that Yale SOM views large businesses in particular, or large business issues requiring sort of global consideration, you need to be able to look at a business problem from a global perspective. And the school requires that all MBA students, all MBA candidates participate in international study. This could mean, this international experience course where half of the semester of the classroom study, you participate in New Haven, but then you take a 10-day trip with your professor and your classmates to one or more business capitals to see kind of, hands-on how these problems are being faced. The other way that you can gain that international experience is through the Global Network Week. As I mentioned earlier, Haas and Yale is actually one of the founding members, are part of the Global Network of Advanced Management program. And they have a Global Network Week that you have the opportunity to travel to one of the 32 schools that are part of the program, are member schools, to engage in an intensive course in an area of local interest or specialization that you are looking to gain going in. And then the other thing, the other way that you can gain this international experience is through the global social enterprise. This is a way that you can get into entrepreneurial consulting projects, and you're working with a mission-driven social enterprise or social entrepreneurs in a developing country. Yale is a social impact school, so if that's the field that you are interested in, Yale should be top of your list of schools to choose from. And you do have, again, an opportunity to engage on, social impact initiatives, both on the local and international levels. The Yale SOM is actually one of the youngest MBA programs. It was established in 1976. And because of that, and a very small class size, that means that the alumni body for the Yale SOM is shy of 10,000 strong. And that said, just like in the program itself, Yale leverages the entire Yale University, where you can enroll in classes across different schools. As an alumnus, you are also going to be leveraging the entire Yale University alumni to support you along the way. And whether these 8% of students in the class of 2021 that took advantage of this or not, there is a global brand for Yale that as an MBA student, you would definitely have an opportunity to leverage and be able to, again, take that international job, shortly, or post-MBA, long-term, or just really engage the community on an international scale as you gain experiences in the job market. Now, the third school that I would want to talk about is Stern. I really do apologize about this presentation. It was a last-minute change in direction that led to a not so great looking presentation. So coming back to the presentation, Stern is one of the schools that I think a lot of students should consider when they are looking at beyond the M7 programs to apply to. The emphasis at NYU is, at NYU Stern rather, is how you take what you learn in the classroom and apply it outside of the MBA experience. The school, the school focuses a lot on offering a flexible course structure that allows all of its members, all of its class, to customize their MBA experience. Students can choose up to 3 majors out of 20 to customize their experience so that they can get that post-MBA job that they're looking for, and just really narrow down what that MBA experience is going to look like, and of course, based on what their long-term goals are going to be. They can also enroll in other partner schools where they can complete up to 25% of the required courses through partner school enrollment. This again can allow for customization, specialization of the curriculum on an individual basis. And the school also offers robust elective options to meet a variety of different student needs. They actually have over 200 electives that are offered to students to, again, customize their experience at NYU. Given that the curriculum is structured around applying what you learn in the classroom to the real world, there's a huge focus and emphasis on providing opportunities for students to gain hands-on learning experiences. And there's only 2 schools that are, strong, coveted programs that can boast about using their location as an added bonus to offering, hands-on learning opportunities to its members. So one of the ways that many students, especially those that are interested in sort of like the tech space, which is becoming, of course, a very interesting field, students at the NYU Stern can participate in Tech in New York City, which they engage with a local tech startup, help them with their business decisions, and getting the business running, which allows them to gain, again, hands-on experience from what they learn in the classroom and apply it in the real world. And there's also the consulting lab. Now, the consulting lab kind of focuses a lot on branding and innovation, but approaches it from a global branding framework. So students do have opportunities to look at how to solve problems, not just, again, on the national level, but also on a global perspective or global mindset, or approaching it from a global mindset way. Students have an opportunity to be board fellows, engage in investment funds. So if you're wanting to work in finance, NYU is definitely a top choice school that you should have on your list, because they do have really strong relationships with the employers in New York City, and New York City being your finance hub, this is a great place, a great school to go to. The other thing that NYU really does a good job is approaching or helping students prepare to be leaders through hands-on learning experiences. So NYU as a whole, it's a very international space. You can see that from, having campuses across the world, but then also just looking at the class profiles, there's a lot of international students on campus. They also, NYU sort of, ethos is around not only being international minded, but also understanding that whether you are going to live locally or not, you are going to, in the course of your lifetime, you are going to be doing business with people from other parts of the world. And they have a really wonderful program called Doing Business In. And it's a 1 to 2 week intensive program that includes classroom, corporate visits, speakers, and cultural visits, where students gain an awareness around the different kind of ways that people do business across the world, and how they can experience that in their engagement, again, locally or internationally. Currently, students that participate in Doing Business In, they have worked in, or they have gone to places like Central America, South America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. NYU has a really large alumni body. So NYU Stern has a large alumni body. They are 110,000 strong in 130 different countries. And this means that not only are you going to leverage the network in the communities that you're trying to be a part of, or in the geographies you're trying to be a part of, you can also know that the brand NYU is going to be recognized in different parts of the world. And about 5% of the class of 2021 took the opportunities that were offered internationally for them, which means that there is definitely a lot of opportunities for you, again, if you want to work internationally now or later on, to know that investing in a degree like NYU would offer those opportunities for you to do it. School number 4 is Ross on my list. While Ross has a much more rigid structure, so the first year is almost entirely core classes, professors make the experience of learning that material very accessible and interactive. There is discussion, and discussion is encouraged, and they want you to share your perspective and really learn by engaging with the work. The second year students can customize their curriculum through electives to make that MBA experience unique to their career path and what they want to leverage post or the career that they're moving towards post MBA. The program is extremely rigorous, but the faculty is really, really supportive. They are going to push you to do what they think you can do, whether you believe it or not. And in the process, they're going to be helping you to make sure that you succeed along the way. So you will be challenged, as you will with all these programs, but you definitely will be challenged in a very close-knit community like a Ross, and in the Ann Arbor sort of secluded area in your own bubble. But you will also be supported along the way. The first year, as I mentioned, you are finishing, or you're essentially almost your entire first year at Ross is going to be core classes. And this sort of ends with a 7-week MAP project. So MAP stands for Multidisciplinary Action Project, where students, typically in a team of 6, work on a real-world consulting project. The idea here is that you are going to take everything that you have learned in the classroom for that entire year at Ross and apply it to that consulting project that you are going to be a part of at the end of your first year. Students can apply to, and they're going to typically rank the projects that you want to work on, but there are about 100 MAP projects available to select from. Again, these are depending on your interests. Obviously, the list is going to be much more narrow from there on. As a second-year student, you will be able to participate in what they call Living Business Leadership Experience. And this is only available to second-year students. And it kind of mimics the MAP experience, but you would be working with an established, working with a company to establish or run a profitable enterprise. The opportunity is different from MAP insofar as the student is a part of the leadership team. So you have understood and learned the fundamentals by year 1, apply that through your MAP experience. In year 2, you are working with the Living Business Leadership Experience that allows you to really hone in your leadership skills to understanding how to, lead up, down, and across an organization. Once COVID and travel restrictions, sort of come to an end, we anticipate that Ross will bring back the short-term global experience, where students get to engage in company visits, culture activities, and interactive lectures with business schools, with business scholars and professionals working in the field across the globe. So this is, again, another great opportunity for you to be able to engage on an international level, and of course also travel and get to experience different cultures. The Ross community is really strong insofar as I mentioned earlier, it's a very tight-knit community, and that really helps foster strong relationships with the community that you are a part of. But this doesn't only end with you. this has been going on for a while, meaning that the alumni of 52,000 have gone through this process themselves and have really developed an affinity for the school and supporting the community there. So you are definitely going to be able to leverage that alumni body across 11 countries and again, help you make the career moves that you need to do, whether that is geographies or industries. It's really going to be a supportive community along the way, both immediately during your MBA, post-MBA, as well as long-term. And the class of 2021, again, accepted, about 3% of the class accepted offers internationally, showcasing that there is an international brand to Ross. Again, it's not going to be like a Harvard, like a Stanford, like a Wharton that are part of the M7s, but you will still have opportunities to leverage the investment that you make in your MBA long-term or internationally as well. And the next school that I want to bring to your attention is Tuck. So Tuck, given its location, again, the last two schools are somewhat secluded as far as geographies are concerned, but Tuck places a great deal of emphasis on providing opportunities to gain hands-on experiences. And the first-year students experience end with the first-year project, where you get to apply your learning again. So similar to MAP, you get to apply your learning from your first year into a client work that you will be doing with this first-year project. You also will have a faculty advisor, a support system that will support you along the way as you work on these projects. Tuck approaches, academics, which I should have started with, from a holistic perspective, and does want students to have, opportunities to work on, case-based courses, independent studies, and small-scale research seminars. You have an opportunity to, again, take advantage of electives to customize your experience at Tuck and really hone in on what you want to do in your career. But once we get to the interesting parts, which is the hands-on learning opportunities, they do place quite a lot of emphasis on the learning through a variety of different opportunities. And through Tuck Go, students have to engage in a mandatory global experience to a place they haven't visited, they haven't been before. So this really means that you are going to be challenged to move out of your comfort zone. It can be very comforting to go into a bubble like, a Tuck, and stay there and be part of that community and just really build strong relationships there. But with something like this, you're really challenged to go beyond the spaces that you have been before. And it is really in line with the ethos of not only understanding the business world, but being able to navigate different cultures and economies, but also in the process, better understanding yourself. You become a better leader by being challenged, by being able to move beyond, your usual day-to-day activities. Before the 2021, 2022, before the pandemic, Tuck did offer the on-site global consulting, which I'm hoping they're going to bring back. There's opportunities, again, for you to be engaged in consulting projects across 64 countries in different parts of the world. So there's a lot of emphasis placed in building relationships with organizations globally so that students have opportunities to be part of those projects, part of the problems that are going on in the world, to be able to solve them as leaders on the training ground here at Tuck, but then also beyond that once they, are business leaders leading organizations. Tuck also offers the Global Insights Expedition, where students are engaged in experiential courses that take place around the world. The course typically begins on campus at Tuck and includes travel experience during the spring break to a designated place, of course, outside of the United States, depending on, again, the course that you are enrolled in. And during the travel period, so during the spring break, students are able to engage with corporate leaders, entrepreneurs, community leaders, government officials, and local people from different walks of life to really experience what it is to do business, to understand really the cultural nuances of the space that they're a part of, and they've been learning about in the classroom. And similar to Yale, they do have a relatively small alumni body when we're looking at, of course, comparing to other schools. Tuck has about 10,700 alumni in 74 different countries, and similar to Ross, about 3% of the class of 2021 took or accepted offers of employment post-MBA in international organizations. Now, of course, I wouldn't be, sort of quenching the desires of those individuals that look at salaries to just look at how competitive salaries at these MBA programs are post MBA. So these are, for most of them, it's the median salary and bonus combined that will, of course, help make that investment somewhat palatable as far as the cost of attendance is concerned. But of course, it's really important to remember that this is not something that you are investing in just for that immediate post-MBA salary. It's something that you're investing in for the long-term success and for long-term progression of your career that will be beyond that, six-figure salary post-degree. So let's move to some questions. Hopefully you had some time to formulate a few questions that you want to ask. I will be looking at the questions on the screen. So if you need a few moments to formulate your thoughts and ask questions, please take this time to write it out in the chat, in the comment section of the YouTube live, and I'll try my best to go through as many as possible and answer as many as possible before the end of our session. Perfect. So so yes, I have a question here from Vaishnav. Yes, I'm only talking about U.S. schools, obviously. By the point now, you understand that it's only U.S. schools. Sorry, I didn't see this beforehand. What's the best way to get into Haas? It's a question that is being asked by Pritika. Berkeley Haas is my dream school currently, and I'm trying to score a high GMAT to help. Absolutely, a high GMAT is definitely going to help your chances, but Haas is looking for more than that. Now, just because I didn't mention this in my presentation, but just because these are not M7 schools, it doesn't mean it's easy to gain admission to them either. But they are programs that are definitely worth the investment of time initially to secure an offer, but then the investment is going to keep on giving for quite a long time. I guess the best way to gain admission to Haas is to showcase that you are someone who already has values that speak to the 4 principles with which Haas operates. So that's changing the status quo, student always, confidence without attitude, and I always forget the 4th one. And showcasing how you've been that throughout your career, throughout your experiences that you've had. So that's going to come across in your resume. It's going to come across in your essays, and when you're invited to interview, it's going to come across in the interview experience. I think on a qualitative level, that's really what they're looking for. Of course, you need to have strong academics, you need to have strong GMAT or GRE score, and you need to have progression to demonstrate that you have potential for leadership long term. So those are all things that will help you stand out. But beyond that, it's really speaking in the language that Haas cares and values. And that would be something that I would encourage you to look deeper into and evaluate first and foremost in yourself, right? You have to consider who you are first and then be able to communicate that to the school. Carl is asking a question about when is the appropriate time to prepare for GMAT. I'm not a GMAT expert, but I would just say that typically it takes an applicant about 3 months to prepare and secure satisfactory GMAT score. Now that I say that with a caveat because everyone is different, and you can say 3 months and you're not spending time in that 3 months period. So definitely make sure that you give yourself ample time to prepare. While there's opportunities to always strengthen your GMAT score post-submission, it's typically riskier to do that. So if you're planning to apply to round 1, if you haven't started preparing for the GMAT, you may want to do that as soon as possible so that you give yourself time to study, take the exam, see how you score, and then try to improve that before the round 1 deadlines. So I have a question from Sai, who says, what is my view on Fuqua Darden as it relates to investment banking and asset management careers? They are definitely very good schools. If you want IB and asset management careers, I'm assuming that these are kind of like on the top ranks for you. Those will definitely help you open doors. Look at geographies that they place students. Make sure that you're comfortable with that. And also look at the types of firms that they're placing students in that would help you, secure that offer post. It's going to be much more difficult for you to secure a job in New York City, for example, in investment banking and asset management with a Fuqua and Darden degree than if you had, NYU or Columbia degree there. So those are things to take into consideration as well. So I have a question from Vedanshi, who says, what's the shortcomings of Ross MBA as compared to Booth MBA? I think these are really not comparable schools. While both have amazing professors. I mean, Booth is really an amazing research institution that comes across not just Chicago, it's its parent university, but even within the Booth MBA program. And they currently, I believe, have 3 Nobel laureates on campus that are teaching classes to the MBA students. There's just a lot more opportunities and experiences for students to engage in a variety of different projects. And you're also in Chicago and not in Michigan. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. It really depends, again, on shortcomings on what exactly. Is it academics that you want to know, or is it experiential learning opportunities, or specific career related, right? So if you're looking at like what's the shortcomings in one versus the other as it relates to technology or as it relates to whatever it is that you're looking to do. So you may want to definitely narrow down that question and then dive deeper into each one of the schools and, you know, find out exactly what one offers and one doesn't. Perfect. Is it possible to get into these schools or the M7s if you have a high GMAT but not the best grades engineering degree? Ivan, I have helped someone just last year get into Kellogg with a 2.5 GPA. Everything else was great. It was just, that was the blemish. So if that's the only blemish that you have, and you have years of experience that can mitigate and showcase that, you know, your undergraduate experience was a sort of like a fluke in your professional development, then there's an opportunity for you to get an admit into an M7. Again, you have to showcase that you have everything else. So yeah, there are chances for sure. So I have a question from Shubham, who asks, which amongst the 5 schools are the best feeder school for consulting? Consulting is one of the top 3 sectors that all of these programs place in. So it really kind of depends on what kind of consulting you're looking for. If you're looking just for general management, I would say probably Haas. I would say Ross is definitely on one of them, and Tuck as well. But if you're looking for social impact, then Yale and Haas would be the ones that you would want to be definitely targeting. So narrow down a little bit your interest within the consulting space, and then look from there, how can the school support you? But consulting is one of the top sectors that all of these schools place students post-MBA. So what is the best way to get a good candidate for Cornell, or to be a good candidate for Cornell and Carnegie Mellon, so Tepper's MBA, considering that I have a GMAT above their average, and what can be done to offset the low GPA? So I'm assuming it's really the low GPA. That's the question. If you have the above the class average in the GMAT, by how much is the question? And then so maybe look at, can you increase it higher than that? Can you increase your GMAT higher than that? And if not, definitely look for courses that you can enroll in that you can showcase a grade, right? It needs to be graded to demonstrate to the school, and that is rigorous, that you can demonstrate to the school that you have the capacity to succeed in these programs. Johnson, which is Cornell's MBA program, and Tepper, which is Carnegie Mellon's MBA program, are also very rigorous and very academic. Tepper is a very tech-focused school, so it's going to be very challenging. So you need to demonstrate that you have the capacity to succeed in that kind of environment. One of those courses that you can look at is, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's Harvard Business School offers a program called CORE. It's between 12 and 17 weeks, depending on how intensive you want to study, where you complete a program, you get a certificate at the end that says that you are kind of like a check mark that says you are ready to embark on your MBA journey. It's a MBA readiness kind of program. There are other programs like that that you can look at, but that one is particularly recognized and sort of like it's the model through which other schools use. So that would be one recommendation that you can take and look into. I'm going to leave the GMAT specific questions because again, I'm not really a GMAT expert. Dipakshi asked, could you discuss in terms of opportunities which one would be a better option, MBA in supply chain versus master's in supply chain? It really depends, again, on what you want to do in supply chain. Is it that you want to run the supply chain sort of like department, or you want to be a business leader with a focus on supply chain and creating better operations within the supply chain? So at the core, it's really the function that you want to play that would determine which program you proceed. And if supply chain is your area of what you want to do, definitely, absolutely look at Ross. Which business school would you recommend for someone with a marketing background apart from the M7s? Juhi, are you looking to stay in marketing or are you looking to transition? It really, really depends. All these programs, like Yale is really strong in marketing as well. Haas there's plenty of opportunities there as well. NYU, definitely Stern is a place that you can definitely look at. But again, are you looking to stay in marketing or are you looking to transition out of marketing? So that's, at the end of the day, the difference in question. Okay, so one last question before we end. So is there any difference between two? Okay, so then the question here I got is from Dipakshi. Says, do you need to have a background in engineering to pursue an MBA supply chain? Or would commerce management background would suffice? Yeah, you don't need to have an engineering background to work in supply chain unless you are, again, looking to do a master's program in supply chain. Then I would look at that program's requirements. But for an MBA, you do not need to have an engineering background to pursue a career in supply chain and have the school help you get there. So definitely there's opportunities for you, but at the core, the question is really, what role do you want to have? And please, this goes for everyone. When you're making the decisions for the schools, always look at the long-term plan, what sector you want to be in, and look at then the school's network and resources and opportunities to support you. The short-term post-MBA goal is a stepping stone. It's not the end result. The end result is your long-term plan. That's where you're going. That's where you're headed. Short-term is just, okay, in order for me to get to where I want to go, I need to do this because it's going to help me get there. So take the time to articulate your long-term plan. And in that long-term plan, if you can say what role you would ideally want to play, that'll help you decide between a master's and an MBA as to which program you should apply to. So hopefully this was a helpful conversation, presentation. Again, my apologies for the formatting issues with the presentation. I hope I get to have conversations with you guys on a one-on-one. Definitely willing to help those individuals that have the potential to be admitted to some of these top-ranked schools, and welcome a conversation to discuss your chances and discuss ways that I can support you. Have a great rest of your day or evening and week. And good luck with your GMAT prep, school research, and everything else that you're doing to prepare for the next steps in your career. Have a great one.